Let me debunk one myth right here. There's this myth of the charismatic communicator, the charismatic speaker, something you're just born with. Well, that is a bunch of baloney. Here in the United States, many people think of John F. Kennedy as this charismatic speaker. And no, he did give some good speeches, but he was considered a horrible speaker just a few years before he became president. I know people here in New York City who used to see him as a young congressman coming around asking for money and attending fundraisers, and they said he was awful. Head down, reading, nervous. All you saw was sort of this thick head of hair. Nothing charismatic about him. It was a learned skill. Now, I differ from some of my colleagues in the personal development space. I happen to think there's no such thing as charisma. What I think people really mean is somebody whose ideas I like, for the most part, who is a great speaker. Now, let me challenge you. Think of someone that you perceive of as being very charismatic. Isn't that person also a really good speaker? Now think of someone who is an awful speaker. How many people really view that person as charismatic? The two go together. Certainly in the world of politics. Whether you think of Fidel Castro in his prime, whether or not you liked his politics or not, or Tony Blair when he was in power in Great Britain, what do they both have in common? Fantastic public speakers. So don't worry about trying to have some elusive charisma as a communicator. Instead, focus on being a good communicator, and people will start judging you as having charisma. This applies more and more when you speak to larger audiences, because plenty of people seem like just ordinary Joes. When you meet them, talk to them in person, they can do the very same thing on a stage in front of 10,000 people, but because they're comfortable, confident, relaxed, have interesting stories, they're instantly perceived as charismatic. Well, they're just using good speaking skills, good communication skills. So my tip to you, don't spend a lot of time looking for this mythical lamp filled with genies to give you the charisma gene. Instead, focus on being a great communicator and being interesting and memorable anytime you communicate.